Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings and my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, is to provide you information the bought off lamestream fake media is not going to touch. Look, you can join us every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern. Come to davejanda.com, stream our live radio show on Sundays. All you have to do is go to davejanda.com, hit the upper right-hand corner, hit the listen button, and join our family, join our team. We're there every Sunday for you from 2 to 5 Eastern. We're also available at davejanda.com 24/7. We have a public side where we upload a significant amount of information every week, and we have a subscription side where we have our WTF show, our Insider Insight show, our Department of Advanced Research show, our contributing editor section, our healthcare policy briefings, and all of our archives of our radio show and also the Insider Insight show, all available 30 cents a day. Pretty good bang for the buck, I believe, when it comes to our information. DaveJanda.com, check it out. Today, I'd like to focus on the three phases of voting fraud that occurred in our most recent midterm election, and the important part, the ramifications for 2020. Now look, I live in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, Michigan, right outside that window. And right down the road, 30 miles, is the city of Detroit. You want to talk about voter fraud? I want to take you back to the 2016 election. Voting machines in more than 1/3 of all Detroit precincts registered more votes than they should have during the presidential election in 2016, according to Wayne County records prepared at the request of the Detroit News. Detailed reports from the Office of Wayne County Clerk, Kathy Garrett, showed optical scanners at 37% of precincts tabulated more ballots than the number of voters tallied by workers in the poll books. And guess who? Take a guess where all those votes went. Right, good old Hillary. Well, she needed some help, right? Bottom line is that was 2016. And many of the ramifications and the voter fraud we saw in 2018 stemmed from the fact that government officials did not address problems that occurred in 2016, or for that matter, for decades before. Why? Because it serves the purpose of those already in power for voter fraud to continue, because if they got there once through voter fraud, it's going to keep happening. They have no interest in making sure that voter regularity occurs. So let's look at what happened in the midterms. Well, there's a before, a during, and an after as it relates to the fraud. And we've touched on this before, but it bears repeating. Before, the Monday before the midterm elections, I was contacted by several sources, and one particular source who is very entrenched within the government, intelligence services, who told me that, we're catching stuff left and right. In fact, quote, a staggering number of vote machines have been impounded as of the night before the election because they were found to have preloaded votes all favoring globalist candidates on them. Those machines were impounded. This is in all 50 states, impounded, put under guard, and then investigated. New machines that were certified as being zeroed out were put in their place. We also have the then Secretary of State of Georgia coming out, Kemp, Georgia investigating Democrats for alleged hacking voting system. This was 2 days before the election. Georgia's Secretary of State and Republican gubernatorial candidate Brian Kemp revealed on Sunday, 2 days before the election, that his office is opening an investigation of the Georgia Democratic Party on allegations that attempted to hack the state's voting system, including allegations of possible cybercrime. No wonder his opponent didn't want to, Oprah's buddy didn't want to give up, because, wait a minute, didn't we have those machines preloaded? Wait a minute, it's all going to come out in our favor. And then we had the work of James O'Keefe during the election, where he showed illegals being asked by poll workers, come on in, we're letting a lot of people, come on in, the more the merrier, people that are illegal voting. Just remember to vote the right way. Right. Non-citizens voting in Texas, quote, we got tons of them, end quote, admits polling off official on undercover Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, video. And then we had California. Surprise. Actually, one of my sources on that Monday night said Florida, in particular, has been targeted. California, and they also mentioned Idaho. I don't know. Haven't heard much out of Idaho, but I was told those 3 states in particular. But then this came out about California. Election fraud scheme on LA Skid Row. This is from the Los Angeles Times, no less. Now, it was reported almost 2 weeks after the election. Got homeless to sign fake names for cigarettes and cash, the district attorney says. A forged signature swapped for $1 or sometimes a cigarette. The crude exchange played out hundreds, my sources say thousands of times, on LA Skid Row during the 2016 election cycle and again this year, prosecutors said as they announced criminal charges against 9 people accused in a fraud scheme. That's what was happening. So we had the before, load the machines. We had the during. And let's mention another during. This gets me in hot water every time I talk about it. But I started speaking about this the night of the election when I saw it happening in real time. In fact, Greg Hunter, USA Watchdog, was doing a live simulcast. And he has it actually on his platform, USA Watchdog. He called me. And I specifically talked about this fact that at 9:30 at night, which is 6:30 Pacific time, out of nowhere, Fox News all of a sudden declared the House has gone to the Democrats. I believe this was blatant voter suppression because polls were going to be open for at least another hour and a half on the West Coast. This influenced the Nevada senatorial race, the Arizona senatorial race, the Montana senatorial race, and it influenced over 250 open, ongoing elections, including many of the districts in California that initially were reported as going Republican, then all of a sudden, wonk, over the next week or two, flipped barely to becoming Democrat or globalist controlled. More on that in a minute. This voter suppression, I believe, was run by a guy by the name of Bill Salmon at Fox. He's a vice president of political content at Fox. He wrote a book on how to influence elections. He was the guy who constructed Megyn Kelly's questions to fire at Trump to try to take him out in those debates. He's a globalist of the highest order. He is beyond a never-Trumper. He has been put in charge by the Murdochs, who sit on the Council on Foreign Relations. The owners of Fox sit on the Council on Foreign Relations, the globalist think tank. And their focus is on open migration. What does that mean? No borders. He's the guy who the Murdochs put in charge of that. And Trump is a huge speed bump to his efforts. He will do anything and everything to undermine Trump and the freedom movement. He is a globalist. And I have been denigrated by many, many people for years because of my opposition about Fox. I have said, and I continue to say, and I believe this voter suppression that occurred on the midterm election night was yet another indication of how Fox is, when you're walking into that Baskin-Robbins ice cream store of media companies, they're all ice cream. They're all owned by the same entity. That same entity with the media companies is the Globalist Syndicate. And whether it's CBS or MSNBC or CNN or Fox, they're all part of the problem. This fair and balanced thing is just it's a marketing gimmick. There are folks I know inside Fox who actually are the ones who support me the most about this, who say, yeah, you're right. And then we had the before, we had the during, right? Whether it was California, whether it was Florida, or whether it was Fox suppression, or whether it was Texas. Then we had the after, and that's where this Brenda Snipes comes in Broward County. I mean, she, again, has a track record of this. She illegally destroyed ballots in 2016. Tim Canova, who ran against Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the primary, filed suit and won. She illegally destroyed ballots in 2016, and now in 2018, the Florida GOP worries she's trying to steal a Senate seat. This is from the Washington Examiner. Brenda Snipes and the rest of her crew at Broward County Supervisor of Elections do not deserve any presumption of impartiality, honesty, integrity, or competence. Snipes illegally destroyed the ballots cast, and this is Tim Canova, in my 2016 primary against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Yet there's been no criminal investigations. Well, he launched one, and he actually filed suit. And in May of 2018, a judge ruled that Snipes violated state and federal laws by destroying ballots after the event, after the election, that Canova was seeking to look for voter irregularities in the primary. Who allowed that to continue? Well, I believe there's some negligent people who claim they're conservatives. For example, the guy running for the Senate, Scott, who was the governor, what did he do about this in 2016? Because he was going to be running in 2018. Not enough, if anything. What did the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, or whatever her name is, do about this? Obviously not enough. And then all of a sudden it became a problem and they started having to investigate it. It got ridiculous that the Globalists started using Snipes as cover, and they had a whole operation going. We saw the trucks. Matt Gaetz, the congressman from Florida, went up to these trucks that were unloading boxes saying, what is going on here? Are these fraudulent ballots that are being put in the place of ballots that were cast? Looked like it. And then we had Democratic lawyers. The lawyer they sent down there, the globalist lawyer they sent down there, was this Mark Elias character. And if that name sounds familiar, he's the Clintons' attorney, the DNC's attorney. He's the guy who paid money to Fusion GPS and hired Steele to create the false, fake Russian dossier that was used to get the fraudulent FISA warrants on Trump and his team. And this guy was wandering around Florida afterwards trying to change votes, to the point where this is from Zero Hedge, Democratic lawyers object to non-citizen Florida ballot being thrown out. They were objecting to non-citizens who voted, who got caught, about throwing out their ballots. And now we got the feds investigating altered election documents tied to the Florida Democratic Party. The Florida Department of State has asked federal prosecutors to investigate official election documents with the dates changed, which the department says can be tied to the Florida Democrat Party. And we had those crates of mystery ballots in Florida showing up. And then look at Arizona. Look, there were 4 counties that the voting, the signature, there was a discrepancy with the signature on the ballot and the signature that was in the records of the person. And it's interesting. 4 counties' votes with the signature discrepancy were counted. All Democratic counties, huge counties. The 11 counties that were mainly conservative or independent, where there were vote discrepancies with the signature, none of their votes were counted. And then that brings me to Florida. The night of the election, a number of Orange County Orange County congressional districts were declared to be Republican wins. And then over the ensuing several weeks, flipped. Did a little research on this. In Orange County, California, the Democrats had 300,000 more votes for congressional House seats than they did in the same area for governor. What? Right. 300,000 votes, I believe, were fabricated out of nothing, so that a number of those House races moved from being Republicans, conservatives, independents to being declared to be won by globalists. The before rigging didn't work. The during, in some cases, did work in this midterm election process. And the during really was supported by Fox and their voter suppression techniques, because I believe what they did an hour and a half before the polls closed on the West Coast is they got a number of people that said, you know what, it's already lost, I'm not going to go and vote. Number two, you had a number of people say, well, I don't want to vote for a loser, I'm going to vote for a winner. And then number three, you had 300,000 more votes dumped in Orange County alone in the congressional races out of nowhere. There are many people that say, well, this is being investigated. My sources tell me it is. Department of Homeland Security is involved in this. There are also many people that are saying, well, it's going to show that during the investigations that there was significant voter irregularity and there are going to be special elections. Look, folks, I have looked hard for statutes that would allow that occur, and I think the chance of that occurring is slim to none. And my sources confirm that. But here's what I think is going to happen. I believe Trump's team, they're very aggressive on this voter fraud issue. I think what they're doing is they're documenting. There are people that are being prosecuted, as we outlined, of these 9 being indicted in California. There have been a number of people in Texas, a number of people in North Carolina. I believe that there are a number of people that are going to be held to the rule of law in Florida. And I believe what's going to happen is they're going to push these people. They're going to squeeze these people really hard, and they're going to give up exactly people at higher levels going up. And I believe what's going to happen, and Trump is the king of leverage, what he's going to do is he is going to leverage the information he got out of the 2018 midterms, and he's going to leverage it so that the election in 2020 is much more fair and honest. Does that mean that it's going to be 100% fair and honest? I'm not sure we've ever had a fair and honest election in this country or any country, but I believe it'll be far better than it was in 2018 and 2016 and for decades before. Folks, I thank you for your time. I thank you for joining us. We are going to have a great show this Sunday. We're going to have great uploads on our platform on the subscription side. I have Jimmy Boots, who is the most famous law enforcement official in the United States. He was a detective in the NYPD. He focused on human compromise, on the human trafficking networks and the pedophile networks. In our interview with Jim, it is over the top. He takes on Washington, Hollywood, Wall Street, big business, and the church. It's huge. I hope you'll join us at davejanda.com. We're there 24/7, the public side, the subscription side. We're also here on our YouTube channel, Operation Freedom, once a week with a brief YouTube that we present every week. I'd like to thank you for your support. And as we close every segment, this is Dave Janda signing off. Dream big, dare to fail. Again, thanks for your time today.